Hey everyone, this is Rob with Defenders of Wildlife in Tacoma, Washington. And today I want to talk about orcas and why they love rain gardens. Like many of you, one of the reasons I love living in Western Washington is how close I am to the Salish Sea and all the wildlife that lives there. From sea stars and crabs to salmon and sea lions. But my favorite are the orcas. Specifically, the southern resident orcas, a unique population that lives here in the Pacific Northwest. There are 3 pods or family groups, J, K, and L, and they make up the southern resident clan. Unlike other orcas, the southern residents eat salmon instead of seals and sea lions. But regardless of the diet, all orcas live in a matriarchal society, which means that moms and grandmas are in charge of the entire group. The southern resident orcas are also extremely culturally important to the tribes and First Nations who have lived in the Northwest since time immemorial. Even though we call them residents, these orcas travel a lot. They can be seen off the coast of major cities like Tacoma, Seattle, and Vancouver. They've also been seen as far south as Monterey Bay, California. The reason they travel these long distances? Salmon. During the winter, the orcas travel up and down the west coast, searching for salmon returning to rivers like the Sacramento, Klamath, and Columbia. In the spring and summer, they are frequently seen in the North Salish Sea, waiting for salmon returning to rivers in British Columbia like the Fraser River. In the fall, salmon are returning to the Duwamish, Puyallup, and other rivers in the South Salish Sea. Once winter comes, the orcas head back out to the coast and the cycle starts all over again. Sadly, these amazing orcas are extremely endangered. In the 1960s and 70s, wild orcas were captured to be put in tanks in places like SeaWorld. Fortunately, the state of Washington banned the capture of orcas in 1976 when there were just 71 whales left in the wild. Since 1995, though, the orcas have struggled to survive, despite being protected by both the state and federal Endangered Species Act. In 2019, the population was the lowest it had been since the capture period, with only 72 orcas left in the wild. But why are these orcas struggling to survive? Scientists have identified 3 main reasons. The first is a lack of their food or prey, salmon. After years of habitat loss, dam construction, and overfishing, salmon in the Pacific Northwest are threatened with extinction too. And without enough salmon to eat, orcas will starve. A second threat is underwater noise. Like all marine mammals, southern resident orcas rely on echolocation to communicate to each other and find food. When there are too many boats on the water, it makes it hard for the orcas to find enough salmon to eat. Lastly, orcas are threatened by toxic pollution. Pollution not only kills salmon and destroys salmon habitat, leaving fewer fish for the orcas to eat, but it also contaminates salmon and can make orcas sick. So in summary, there's not enough salmon for the orcas to eat. Because of all the noise, it's hard to find the salmon, and the salmon that they do find are full of toxic pollution. Fortunately, there are ways everyone can help. If you live in Western Washington, one of the best tools we have to be better neighbors to the southern resident orcas is a rain garden. Every time that it rains in the Northwest, the rainwater collects chemicals and other toxics that we put on our lawns, driveways, roads, and buildings. This creates a toxic soup called stormwater runoff, and it's the largest source of pollution in the Salish Sea. Small plants and animals called phytoplankton and zooplankton absorb these toxic chemicals. When they're eaten by fish, the fish are also eating that pollution and building it up in their bodies. At each step of the food chain, fish become more and more polluted until eventually it reaches the orcas. Because of all this pollution, the southern resident orcas are some of the most toxic marine mammals in the world. This can make them sick and makes it very hard for them to have healthy baby orcas. Fortunately, rain gardens can help. Rain gardens are bowl-shaped gardens designed to capture, absorb, and filter stormwater runoff. By sending more stormwater into a rain garden instead of down the storm drain, we can reduce the amount of pollution reaching salmon and orcas. And that's where you come in. Students all across Tacoma have been pitching in at their schools, parks, and communities to help plant and take care of rain gardens. These gardens are important tools for our communities so that we can be better neighbors to the southern resident orcas and other wildlife that live in the Salish Sea. We can all chip in to make sure that these rain gardens are healthy and taken care of, whether that garden is at home, at school, or at a park. Students from kindergarten through high school all over Tacoma have been getting their hands dirty to make a positive change for southern resident orcas. So remember, orcas love rain gardens, and everyone, including you, can be part of the solution.